Inside a secret apartment that only 5 men are allowed to enter, a 6th person is lying on the bed, and she is already dead. One of the woman's wrists has been cut open, her other hand is locked to the headboard with a metal handcuff. The doors and windows are completely intact. The alarm system was never triggered. More importantly, only 5 encrypted keys can disable the alarm and open the apartment. That means the killer may be one of the 5 friends who own those keys. The first person to discover the body is Luke. That day, he buys some alcohol and heads to the apartment for a private date. But the moment he opens the door, he finds the horrifying scene from the beginning. The smell of blood is so strong that Luke nearly vomits. He cannot believe the luxury apartment he recently bought with his friends has become a murder scene. But Luke does not dare call the police. Instead, he immediately contacts Vincent. Vincent is the unofficial leader of the group. When he arrives, he stares at the woman on the bed with the same look of shock. He appears to have no idea what happened. Vincent tells Luke to contact the other 3 men immediately. Chris and another friend are already on their way. The only person they cannot reach is Chris's younger brother, Philip. Luke and Vincent soon confirm the most dangerous fact from the opening. There is no sign that anyone broke into the apartment. Whoever entered most likely used a key and walked inside normally. Chris soon arrives at the scene. The moment he sees the body, the first person he suspects is Philip, his missing brother.
You think your brother has something to do with this? No.
Chris believes they should call the police immediately, but Vincent refuses. This apartment is a secret meeting place purchased by 5 married men without their wives knowing. They can bring other women here without leaving hotel bills or suspicious credit card charges. Once the police become involved, the apartment and everything they have done inside it will be exposed. All 5 marriages could be destroyed. While the men argue, the final friend arrives. The sight of the room leaves him too frightened to speak. To identify the victim, Chris forces himself to turn the woman over. But after studying her face, every man in the room claims he has never seen her before. The only person still missing is Philip, and with every passing minute, he looks more suspicious. Vincent reminds the others that they need to stay united and deal with the problem together. But Luke is already close to breaking down. He wants to leave immediately. As far as he is concerned, all of their lives are already ruined.
Where are you going?
Hey, Luke?
Cannot freak out right now. We have to stay together like we said.
And Philip still is not answering his phone. While the men struggle to decide what to do, one of them notices something beneath the pillow. A message has been written in blood. Fate brought us together. The words seem to suggest that everyone in the room is connected to the death. Then they find a bloody knife beside the body. At that moment, Philip suddenly appears behind them. The second Luke sees him, he charges forward. He is convinced that Philip has something to do with the murder. But Philip looks just as confused as everyone else. He firmly denies killing anyone. Philip says he spent the entire night at home. His wife and father-in-law can both confirm it. Early that morning, he was called to an urgent construction job. The work kept him so busy that he never checked his phone. That is why no one could reach him. Now all 5 men insist they had nothing to do with the death. And once again, the most dangerous conclusion from the opening hangs over the room. Unless one of them gave a key to an outsider, the killer is one of the 5 men standing there. They begin showing their keys to prove they never loaned them out. Only Chris hesitates. He cannot produce his key. Under the weight of everyone's suspicion, Chris finally tells them the truth.
Accepting a key to the loft means you accept rules to the loft.
When Vincent first offered the apartment keys to the group, Chris refused his. At the time, he believed he would never betray his wife. But not long afterward, he met a woman who immediately caught his attention. She approached Chris first and suggested that they find somewhere quiet and private to be alone. Chris went straight to Vincent and collected the apartment key.
I'd like to use your key. Just once? It's not what you think.
He had originally rejected. That made him the first of the 5 men to use the secret apartment. After that encounter, Chris became completely obsessed with the woman. He even considered divorcing his wife because he wanted to build a real life with her. But the woman had only wanted a casual affair. She never intended for the relationship to become serious. She soon left Chris and eventually stopped answering his calls. Chris still refused to let go. Convinced that he had found true love, he continued pursuing her. Finally, the woman told him that she had known about the shared apartment from the beginning. Their relationship was always supposed to be temporary.
How many women have you taken to that fuck pad you share with your 4 little buddies?
But Chris still did not back away. Instead, he gave her his apartment key, hoping it would prove how serious he was. That is why Chris cannot show his key now. However, the woman never knew the alarm code. Even with the key, she could not enter the apartment without triggering the security system, so she should have nothing to do with the murder. That means the killer must still be somewhere else. Just as the men run out of ideas, the apartment buzzer suddenly rings. A real estate agent is waiting downstairs. She says a woman named Sarah has listed the apartment for sale. The moment Vincent hears the name, his expression changes. The dead woman on the bed is Sarah. And 3 of the men in the room have seen her before. Not long earlier, Vincent, Luke, and another friend were drinking at a bar when Sarah and one of her friends approached them. Sarah was young and attractive, and she immediately caught Vincent's attention. After leaving the bar, the group went to a rooftop pool. Vincent and Sarah became increasingly intimate there, while Luke eventually left alone. From that night on, Vincent regularly brought Sarah to the apartment. Over time, Sarah genuinely fell in love with him. Vincent never intended to treat the relationship seriously.
I'm sorry.
The previous night, he met Sarah in the apartment and ended the affair, but Vincent swears that she was still alive when he left. Philip does not believe him. As far as he is concerned, Vincent is now the most obvious suspect. In a burst of anger, Philip grabs the bloody knife from the bed and charges at him. The others rush forward to stop him. During the struggle, Philip throws the knife away. Vincent instinctively reaches out and catches it. Once the argument finally stops, Chris hands Vincent a drink. He tells him to calm down before deciding how they should handle the situation. Vincent suggests finding a way to remove the body, but before he can finish, Philip begins mocking him. Sarah's hand is still locked to the headboard. They cannot move the body until someone opens the handcuffs, and handcuffs seem far more like something Philip would use. Not long earlier, Vincent and Chris entered the apartment and found Philip with a woman handcuffed to the bed. Philip had only recently married, yet he was already bringing other women there. He has a violent temper and regularly uses illegal substances. Whenever he loses control, he treats those women badly. If Vincent and Chris had not repeatedly apologized and paid money on his behalf, Philip might already have faced criminal charges. From that perspective, he is clearly capable of creating the scene in front of them. As the accusations continue, Luke suddenly reveals another secret. He claims he never brought a woman to the apartment, but without telling anyone, he installed hidden cameras throughout the rooms. Almost everything his friends did there was recorded. Luke even copied the footage onto discs and secretly kept them. The others are furious, but the recordings may be the only way to identify the killer. Vincent immediately asks Luke what the cameras captured. Luke refuses to answer directly. Instead, he reminds Vincent that he repeatedly broke the rules the 5 men created for the apartment. Luke says he recorded almost everything Vincent did there.
No worries, Vincent. And I'll keep my mouth shut like I always do.
The words sound less like reassurance and more like a warning. Vincent's expression changes instantly. Before he can question Luke, a powerful wave of dizziness hits him without warning. Seconds later, Vincent collapses to the floor. Strangely, the other 4 men do not react. They remain calm because this was their plan all along. Vincent passes out because Chris placed a sedative in the drink he just handed him. Earlier that morning, Luke did not call Vincent first after finding Sarah. He contacted the other 3 friends instead. At that point, Sarah's wrist had not been cut. She was lying on the apartment bed after swallowing a large amount of sleeping medication. A suicide note had also been left at the scene. Because Vincent had been their friend for years, the men initially planned to help him hide the scandal. Then Luke told them that he had something they needed to see. He admitted that he had installed hidden cameras throughout the apartment. When the others watched the recordings, they were devastated by what Vincent had done behind their backs. One of the men had once fought with his wife and tearfully asked Vincent to help repair their marriage. Instead of helping, Vincent waited until the woman was drunk and brought her to the apartment. Vincent had also been sleeping with Philip's sister. The 2 of them regularly met inside the apartment. Even the woman Chris believed he loved had already been Vincent's mistress. She approached Chris because Vincent arranged it. Vincent paid her to seduce him. His goal was to convince Chris to accept the key and join the shared apartment. The 4 men cannot believe that the friend they trusted had betrayed them in so many ways. Once they see Vincent for who he really is, they want to kill him themselves. But Sarah has died inside the apartment. They know the police will investigate every man connected to the property. So the 4 friends prepare matching stories in advance. Chris takes Sarah's suicide note.
You have the suicide note, right?
I got it.
Philip remains behind to rearrange the room. The others separate and create alibis. But after everyone leaves, Philip becomes increasingly angry. To make the scene look more like a murder, he cuts Sarah's wrist. Then he uses her blood to write the message above the bed. Fate brought us together. Once the room is ready, Luke returns first and pretends that he has just discovered the body. He then contacts Vincent and the others one by one. That is how the suspicious confrontation from the opening is created. When Vincent finally admits that he brought Sarah to the apartment the previous night, Chris breaks the bottle in his hand. That is the signal to begin the next stage of the plan. He places a sedative in Vincent's drink. Once the drug takes effect, the 4 men remove Vincent's clothes and carry his unconscious body to the bed. Then they handcuff him beside Sarah. They have already created a complete story for the police. Sarah was unable to accept being abandoned. She lured Vincent back to the apartment and drugged him. Then she killed herself beside him and left the bloody message. When the police arrive, the scene will look like revenge between 2 lovers. Vincent is not supposed to die, but his affairs will be exposed. He will lose his family, his reputation, and everything else he used to hurt the people closest to him. At first, the plan works exactly as intended. After Vincent is arrested, he repeatedly insists that someone framed him, but he cannot produce any evidence. The other 4 men carefully cleaned the apartment and removed every trace connecting them to the scene. Only evidence belonging to Sarah and Vincent remains. The other 4 men also have clear alibis. Luke and Chris were eating breakfast together. Another friend was working in his office. Philip was with his father-in-law the entire time. Every piece of evidence supports the same story. Vincent is trapped. No matter what he says, he has no way to prove his innocence. At first, it seems the plan is over. But after Chris finishes speaking with the police, an officer tells him that Vincent will be charged with murder. Chris immediately realizes something is wrong. Sarah was supposed to have died from an overdose, so why are the police treating her death as a homicide? The autopsy reveals that Sarah did not die immediately after swallowing the sleeping pills. The wound on her wrist is what actually killed her. People who cut their own wrists usually leave several hesitant marks because of the pain and fear. But Sarah's artery was opened with one clean cut. That means someone else cut her wrist. Even worse, Vincent's fingerprints are on the knife. The police also cannot find Sarah's suicide note. With no other explanation, they conclude that Vincent murdered her. Chris is horrified. The 4 friends only wanted to expose Vincent's affairs, destroy his reputation, and make him lose his family. They never intended to turn their revenge into a real murder case. One by one, the other men are released. As Chris leaves the police station, he reaches into his pocket and discovers that Sarah's suicide note is missing. He immediately realizes that something else is happening, but he still needs proof. That night, Chris asks Luke to meet him alone at the apartment. He directly asks what happened to Sarah's note. Chris believes Luke stole it from his coat when the real estate agent appeared. Luke denies everything. He claims Chris probably lost it himself. But Chris has already contacted the agent. He obtained the phone number left by the person who listed the apartment for sale. Chris calls the number. Luke's phone immediately begins ringing. The person who contacted the agent under Sarah's name was Luke. He deliberately arranged for the agent to arrive at that exact moment. While everyone was distracted, Luke stole the note from Chris's coat and threw it into a trash bin downstairs. But before coming to the apartment, Chris searched the bin and recovered it. Luke's plan is completely exposed. Chris now understands that Sarah never wrote the note. Luke forged it himself. Under pressure, Luke finally reveals the truth. From the first moment he met Sarah, he fell in love with her. But Luke was shy and never had the courage to tell her how he felt. Only after watching Vincent break her heart did he finally confess. Luke promised Sarah that he would never hurt her, but she rejected him. Sarah told Luke that he was right. He would never hurt her because she felt absolutely nothing for him. Then she walked away. At that moment, Luke's love slowly turned into hatred. On the night of Sarah's death, he followed Vincent and Sarah to the apartment. After Vincent left, Luke knocked on the door. He pretended that he wanted to comfort Sarah after the breakup, but while she was distracted, he secretly placed drugs in her drink. Once Sarah lost consciousness, Luke carried her to the bed. Then he injected her with a large amount of insulin to rapidly lower her blood sugar. This was the death Luke chose for her. In his mind, it would be peaceful and cause very little pain. He convinced himself that he was doing it because he loved her. Afterward, Luke forged a suicide note and staged the scene to look like an overdose, but he miscalculated the dosage. When the other men arrived, Sarah was still alive. The injury that finally killed her was the cut Philip later made across her wrist. Without realizing it, Philip personally caused Sarah's death. Luke refuses to accept responsibility. Instead, he tries to use the truth against Chris. If Chris exposes him, his younger brother Philip will also face a murder charge. But Chris is no longer willing to protect their secrets. When he prepares to reveal the truth, Luke grabs the knife from the table and forces him toward the balcony. To protect himself, Luke is now willing to kill again. Then police sirens suddenly rise from the street below. Thinking quickly, Chris lies and says he called the police before coming to the apartment. Luke immediately panics. The 2 men begin fighting. During the struggle, the knife falls to the floor. Chris then punches Luke hard across the face. Realizing that his secret can no longer be protected, Luke finally stops resisting. Luke slowly walks toward the edge of the balcony. Before he dies, he asks Chris to tell his wife and children that he is sorry. Then Luke steps over the edge and falls. With his own death, he ends a crime created by betrayal, desire, and lies. The truth behind the locked room murder is finally exposed. Vincent is cleared of the murder charge, but he does not escape punishment. His wife discovers every betrayal and ends their marriage. The recordings preserved inside the apartment destroy his reputation and career as well. Philip must stand trial for the fatal cut that killed Sarah. The other friend tries to repair the damage to his family. Chris also loses his marriage. Several months later, he runs into the woman who first tempted him to betray his wife. She invites him to have coffee. Chris does not answer immediately. After everything that happened, Chris finally understands one thing. No one involved in this tragedy was truly innocent. The 5 men believed the Loft would protect their secrets, but their hidden desires never disappeared. They were simply locked inside the same room, waiting for someone to open the door. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy crime twists, revenge traps, legal loopholes, and survival stories where one mistake changes everything, make sure to subscribe to Traplix Cinema. Every story here starts with a trap and ends with a truth that flips everything you thought you knew.